Maximka, don't cry. Grandma loves you very much, said Valentina Ivanovna softly, while the 3-year-old boy sniffled and held tightly to his mom. There was a fresh bruise on his arm. Alena gently picked up her son, feeling his little body shake with held-back tears. A mother's worry stirred in her chest, a feeling she was trying to ignore with logical explanations. "What happened, sunshine?" she asked quietly, stroking Maxim's messy blonde hair. "He fell off the bed," Valentina Ivanovna quickly replied, fixing her apron. "He's just like his dad was as a child, always jumping around. Jumping and then suddenly falling. Good thing the carpet is soft." Maxim stayed silent, burying his face in his mother's shoulder and holding her neck tightly, as if afraid she might leave again. "Mom, maybe it wasn't a good idea to leave him alone in the room?" Alena suggested gently, trying not to sound like she was blaming anyone. Valentina Ivanovna straightened up, and a cold look flashed in her brown eyes, but only for a moment. Soon, she smiled her usual kind smile. "Alenachka, dear, I worked in a kindergarten for 40 years. Believe me, I know how to take care of children. Maxim is just an active boy. That's normal for his age." "Of course, that's normal," Alena nodded, trying to convince herself. Valentina Ivanovna really was an experienced caregiver, having raised a wonderful son and devoted her life to children. If anyone knew about raising kids, it was her. But still, Alena couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in her heart. Valentina Ivanovna's apartment was in an old brick building in the city center. 3 rooms, high ceilings, Soviet-style furniture that she treasured like a precious gem. After Maxim was born, Alena and Dmitri moved in there temporarily. The young family needed help with the baby, and Valentina Ivanovna had plenty of space and a big desire to take care of her grandson. What was supposed to be temporary had stretched into 4 years. "Where's Dima?" Valentina Ivanovna asked, looking toward the hallway. "He called from the road. Said he'd be here by 8. Alena replied, still holding Maxim. "He finished his presentation early. Thank goodness, I was worried. Dinner's getting cold, and Dima doesn't like cold food. Men are like kids, you have to feed them on time and well," Valentina Ivanovna said with a smile. She loved her son with all her motherly heart. Sometimes Alena felt like her mother-in-law forgot Dmitri was grown up and could take care of himself. "Maximka, come to Grandma," Valentina Ivanovna called gently, holding out her arms. "I'll show you the new book I bought." The child hugged his mother tighter. "I don't want to," he whispered softly. "Maxim, what's with the fuss?" Alena tried to gently pull her son away, but he clung even tighter to her sweater. "Grandma wants to show you a book." "Mom, don't go." The boy's voice cracked with tears. Valentina Ivanovna clicked her tongue. "We've spoiled our little prince," she said. "In my day, children were more independent, but now he just clings to his mom's skirt." Alena felt a pang of guilt. Maybe she really did overprotect her son? Lately, Maxim had become clingy and fearful. He used to happily play with Grandma, but now— "All right," she said, sitting down on the couch with the child on her lap. "Let's sit together. Maximka, tell Mommy what you played with today." The boy brightened up. "We played with cars. I took the big red one." Then he stopped, looked at Grandma, and suddenly fell silent. "And then what?" Alena encouraged him. Then nothing," Maxim said quietly, looking down. Valentina Ivanovna clapped her hands. "Do you remember when we made pies together? Maximka was such a helper, though he got a little wild. We had to put him in the corner. But that's for his own good, to learn discipline from a young age." "In the corner?" Alena asked, surprised. "Why?" "Oh, just a little thing. He was being stubborn and didn't want to clean up his toys. He stood there for 5 minutes and then behaved like a little angel. Right, Maximka?" The boy stayed quiet, fiddling with a button on his mom's sweater. Alena frowned. She had never put her son in the corner because she thought that way of disciplining was old-fashioned. She and Dmitri had agreed to raise their son without violence, using explanations and leading by example. "Mom, we agreed it's better not to punish Maxim like that," Alena said gently. Valentina Ivanovna sighed. Alenachka, you're a young mom, and that's wonderful. But sometimes the older generation's experience is helpful. Kids need to know boundaries, or they'll take over. And Maximka is still little, but at 3 years old, he should already understand no. Dima was more obedient at that age. Alena didn't argue. It was pointless. Valentina Ivanovna always had good reasons, and her experience as a teacher made her position almost unshakable. Suddenly, the sound of keys turning in the lock was heard. Maxim instantly perked up.
Dad.
He jumped down from his mom's lap and ran to greet Dmitri. Valentina Ivanovna hurried too, fixing her hair and heading to the stove. "Dimachka," she exclaimed, meeting her son in the hallway. "How are you?"
Tired, I bet.
"Sit down quickly. Dinner is ready." Dmitri, a tall, dark-haired man with tired eyes, kissed his mother's cheek, then hugged his wife. "Hi, beautiful. How's everything at home?" "All good," Alena answered automatically, but her eyes fell on the bruise on their son's arm. Dmitri noticed her worried look and followed her gaze. "Maxim, what's this on your arm?" "He fell off the bed," Valentina Ivanovna said from the kitchen. "He was jumping around like a little monkey. I told him to be more careful." "I see," Dmitri nodded, ruffling his son's hair. "You have to be careful, champ." Maxim pressed close to his dad, but said nothing. At dinner, as usual, Valentina Ivanovna took charge. She asked Dmitri about his trip, shared news, fed her grandson, and taught him table manners at the same time. "Maximka, keep your elbows off the table, sit up straight, finish your porridge, and you'll grow big and strong like your dad." Alena watched this usual family dinner scene, trying to figure out why she felt so uneasy. Everything seemed normal: a caring grandma, a tired husband after work, an obedient child, a perfect family. But Maxim ate slowly, often glancing at his grandma, as if afraid to do something wrong. And whenever Valentina Ivanovna leaned toward him, he quietly moved away. "Alena, you seem thoughtful today," Dmitri said. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, just tired. There's a lot to do at the kindergarten before the new school year." "You should take a vacation," Valentina Ivanovna suggested. "I'd love to spend time with Maximka," she added happily. "Thanks, Mom, but I like working." "Of course, a career is good," her mother-in-law agreed, but there was a hint of disapproval in her voice. "But the child is more important, especially at this age." Alena pressed her lips together. She had heard this song many times before. Valentina Ivanovna believed young mothers spent too much time working instead of dedicating themselves to their families. "Mom is right," Dmitri suddenly supported his wife. "Maybe you should think about cutting back your work hours?" "I'm earning well now." "We'll talk about it later," Alena said firmly. Valentina Ivanovna smiled with satisfaction. Dmitri was always so caring. He remembered that his wife's first role was to be a mother and take care of the home. After dinner, when Maxim was put to bed, Alena finally decided to talk to her husband. "Dima, I feel like something is wrong with Maxim." "What do you mean?" Dmitri rubbed his tired eyes. He seemed nervous. "He's afraid to be alone with your mom. And those bruises." "Alena, come on. The child is growing and getting more active. Of course, he will fall and get hurt sometimes. That's normal. But he wasn't like this before. He was younger then. Mom knows children well, trust me. If something was wrong, she'd be the first to worry." Alena wanted to argue but saw how tired her husband was. He worked without days off, traveling a lot, exhausted trying to support the family. The last thing he needed was his wife worrying about kids' bruises. "Maybe you're right," she agreed. "It's just a mother's instinct."
Exactly.
"Too sensitive a mother's instinct," Dmitri said softly, hugging her. "Everything is fine, Alena. We have a wonderful family. A caring mother helps with the child. What more could we want?" Late at night, after her husband fell asleep, Alena quietly went to the nursery. Maxim was sleeping with his arms spread out and a calm face. She gently straightened his blanket and noticed another bruise on his shoulder under his pajamas. Her heart beat faster. Where were all these bruises coming from on a 3-year-old? She remembered how today Maxim had hugged her tightly, didn't want to go to Grandma's, and suddenly stopped talking about playing with cars. It's okay, Alena told herself. Kids fall a lot. Valentina Ivanovna is experienced and loves Maxim. A week passed, and the bruises grew in number. Alena found a scratch on her son's neck when she was bathing him before bed. A thin red line, like a fingernail scratch. Maximka, where did this come from? She asked gently, soaping his washcloth. The boy looked at her with big scared eyes and turned away to the bathroom wall. I don't remember, he whispered, his voice stammering, something he never did before. Alena's heart hurt. Maxim never stuttered. On the contrary, he was always very talkative and smart for his age. Sweetheart, you can tell Mommy everything, she said softly, stroking his back. Mommy will never get mad. Maxim turned and wrapped his wet arms around her neck. Mommy, Nina, don't go. Stay home. Why, baby? Just don't go. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I'm scared. What are you scared of? The boy cried louder, but didn't answer. At that moment, Valentina Ivanovna peeked into the bathroom. What's all the noise? Maximushka, what happened? The boy instantly became quiet and curled up, trying to hide behind his mother. Nothing special, Alena said quickly. Just didn't want to wash his hair. Valentina Ivanovna nodded, but her eyes were sharp and cold. At this age, kids often imagine things and are scared of dangers that aren't real. It will pass. After she left, Alena tried to talk to her son again, but he just hugged her tighter and said nothing more. The next day, Alena decided to pick Maxim up from kindergarten early to spend more time with him. But when she got home, she saw a strange scene. Maxim was sitting in the corner of the living room, with his face buried in his knees. Valentina Ivanovna calmly knitted in the armchair. What's going on? Alena asked, surprised. Punishment, the mother-in-law said calmly. He broke a cup and was rude to Grandma. He's been standing in the corner for half an hour, thinking about his behavior. Alena went over and sat down next to her son. Maximka, what happened? The boy lifted his tear-streaked face. Mom, he said, then ran into her arms. I didn't want to. The cup fell by itself. Of course, by itself, Valentina Ivanovna said sarcastically. Kids are never at fault. Everything just happens on its own. Mom, he's still little, Alena said, picking up her son. All kids break dishes. It's not about the cup. Valentina Ivanovna stood up from her chair. It's about what happened after. When I told him off, he shouted that I mean. That's not okay. Alena frowned. Maxim was never rude. Maxim, did you really say that to Grandma? She asked. The boy stayed silent, holding on to his mother. Well, of course he's quiet now, sighed Valentina Ivanovna. He's an angel with you, but when he's with me, he turns into a little devil. Mom, please don't say that, Alena interrupted, her voice hardening. I raised a wonderful son and many children before him. Believe me, I know what I'm doing. You spoil Maxim too much. It's bad for his character. That evening, when Dmitri came home from work, Alena tried to talk to him. Dima, I don't like how your mom punishes Maxim. What do you mean? Dmitri sat down tiredly on the couch. She put him in the corner. He stood there for half an hour because of a broken cup. And that's right. A child must learn the consequences of his actions. But he's so young. And now he's stuttering. Alena, don't you notice? Stuttering happens at this age. When? She asked. Yesterday in the bathroom and today too. He says he's scared. Scared of what? I don't know.
He won't say.
He just asks me not to go to work. Dmitri thought for a moment and shook his head. Alena, children often stutter at this age. It's part of speech development. And as for the fear, maybe he watched a scary cartoon. Dima, I'm serious. Our son has bruises every day. Today there was even a scratch on his neck. So what? He's an active kid, playing and falling. That's normal. But what if it's not normal? Dmitri looked at his wife carefully. What are you talking about? Alena took a deep breath. She had to say what she suspected. What if the bruises weren't from falling? There was silence. Dmitri stared at her in disbelief. Alena, what are you saying? Are you accusing my mom? I don't know, Alena said, upset. I just see something's wrong with Maxim. He's afraid to be alone with her, he stutters, and he has bruises all the time. That's nonsense, Dmitri said sharply. Mom dedicated her life to children. She loves Maxim. But no. He raised his voice. You're accusing the person who helps us raise our child, who feeds us, who gives us a home. Mom's right. You're an anxious mother. Alena felt a lump rise in her throat. So, you don't believe me? I believe what I see. And I see a caring grandma and a daughter-in-law who looks for problems where there are none. He stood up and went to the door. I need to work. And you should stop imagining things. Left alone, Alena quietly cried. The person closest to her didn't believe her mother's fears. The next day, she decided to watch Valentina Ivanovna more closely. She told work she was sick and stayed home. In the morning, after Dmitri left, her mother-in-law was kind and caring, as usual. She played with Maxim, read him books, and fed him breakfast. The child behaved calmly, but Alena noticed he kept looking at his grandma like he was waiting for something bad to happen. Alenachka, why are you home today? Valentina Ivanovna asked. Sick. A little under the weather. It's better to stay home. Of course, health is more important. Though he probably screamed a lot at kindergarten. The school year just started. He'll manage without me. Valentina Ivanovna wanted to say more but stayed quiet, her eyes growing colder. Around 2 p.m., Alena said she would go to the pharmacy for medicine. She left but quietly came back a few minutes later, opened the door with her key, and listened. Maxim's crying came from the living room. Stop crying. Valentina Ivanovna's voice sounded different, harsh and angry. How long are you going to keep whining? I want Mom, Maxim sobbed. Mom is at work. You need to behave properly with me. Who told you to shut up? She snapped. Alena carefully opened the living room door and peeked inside. Maxim sat on the floor, pressed against the wall. Valentina Ivanovna stood over him, looking stern. If you cry again. The boy shook his head, wiping tears away. That's right. And don't say a word to Mom.
Got it?
Or it will be worse. Maxim nodded and wiped tears again. Alena quietly closed the door and left the apartment. Her heart pounded so loudly she felt it could be heard in the whole stairwell. Had she really just witnessed that? Was Valentina Ivanovna simply being strict with a naughty child? Or was it something more? Half an hour later, Alena returned from the pharmacy. Valentina Ivanovna greeted her with her usual kind smile. How are you? Did you get the medicine? Yes, thanks. Maxim played quietly in the corner with his toy cars. He was calm and well-behaved, but when he saw his mom, his eyes lit up with hope. Mom came, and he ran to her. Maximka is such a good boy, Valentina Ivanovna said. Though he cried a little when you left. He missed you. Alena picked up her son and felt him trembling. Mommy, he whispered in her ear. Don't leave anymore. That evening, while putting Maxim to bed, Alena asked directly, Maximka, are you ever scared of Grandma? The boy froze, then slowly nodded. What does she do? Maxim looked toward the door, then leaned close to his mom. She's mean when you're not here, he whispered. She yells and hurts me. How does she hurt you? She pinches me and says I'm bad. Alena felt her insides turn upside down. Her suspicions were right. Maximka, why didn't you tell me before? Grandma said if I told, it would be worse. That Mom would be mad if she knew I'm bad. Tears filled Alena's throat. She hugged her son tightly. My sunshine, you're not bad. You're the best boy in the world, and Mommy will always protect you. Right? Right, I promise. But how could she protect him when even her own husband didn't believe her? That night, Alena couldn't sleep. She lay awake thinking about what to do next. Tell Dmitri? But he already said her worries were nonsense. Go to a doctor or psychologist. But what would she say? that her mother-in-law pinched and yelled at their child. By morning, she made a decision. I need to gather proof. Real, undeniable proof. And for now, I won't leave my son's side. Alena started keeping a diary. Every evening, after everyone went to bed, she wrote down everything she noticed during the day. Alena carefully wrote down where Maxim's bruises were, when they appeared, how he acted, and what Valentina Ivanovna said. She was like an investigator collecting clues bit by bit. Monday, a bruise on Maxim's left wrist appeared after Alena went to the store for an hour. Maxim said he fell off the couch, but the couch was low, and the bruise looked like finger marks. Tuesday, a scratch behind his ear. Maxim's stuttering got worse. When Valentina Ivanovna came into the room, he hid behind Alena. Wednesday, they stayed home all day. No new marks. Maxim played quietly and laughed. It was clear. The bruises only appeared when Alena wasn't around. On Thursday, Alena decided to test it. She told Valentina Ivanovna she was going to the doctor, but instead sat in a cafe across the street for 2 hours before coming back. Maxim met her crying. There was a red mark on his cheek from a slap. What happened? Alena rushed to him. Maxim was very bad today, Valentina Ivanovna said calmly, not trying to hide the mark on Maxim's cheek. I had to be strict. Kids were raised differently in my time. Did you hit him? Alena asked. I gave him a slap on the bottom for being naughty, her mother-in-law answered coldly. Is that a crime now? Alena picked up Maxim, who was trembling. Mom, we agreed not to punish Maxim physically, she said. Valentina Ivanovna straightened up, her eyes blazing. Listen, dear. This is my house, my grandson, and I will raise him as I see fit. And you're a bad mother who doesn't know how to raise your own child. Alena was shocked by such honesty. What did you say? What I've been thinking for a long time. Valentina Ivanovna stepped forward, and Alena stepped back. You spoil Maxim, making him a mama's boy. He should be strong like my Dima, but you're turning him into a crybaby. Maxim is a normal child. Normal, Alena said. Her mother-in-law laughed cruelly. He's scared of his own shadow and stutters like he's mentally weak. That's your fault. Billy's words stung worse than a slap. Alena hugged her son tightly. He stutters because he's afraid of you. Afraid. Valentina Ivanovna leaned closer. Her voice became soft, almost gentle. Do you know what he told me yesterday? That he loves Grandma more than Mom. Because Grandma is real, and Mom is always leaving. Alena's heart ached. Is that true, Maximka? She asked quietly. The boy raised his tearful face and shook his head. No, Mommy, I love you most. See. Valentina Ivanovna smiled. He's already learned to lie. Children know who really loves them. Alena realized the battle had officially begun. That evening, when Dmitri came home, she tried to tell him what happened, but her mother-in-law got ahead of her. Dima, we have trouble here. Alena is accusing me of mistreating Maxim. Dmitri looked surprised at his wife. Seriously? Dima, look at his cheek. Alena turned Maxim's face to Dmitri. Dmitri frowned when he saw the red mark. Mom, what's this? I gave him a slap on the bottom for drawing on the wallpaper with markers. Valentina Ivanovna sighed. And she made a big fuss like I was beating him. They gave him a slap, Alena said. My hand accidentally touched his cheek when I hit his bottom. The mother-in-law explained calmly. Maxim, tell Dad how you ruined the wallpaper. The boy stayed silent, clinging to his mom. Maxim, Dad is asking, Dmitri said firmly. I was drawing, the child whispered. See. Valentina Ivanovna shrugged. The naughty boy confessed, but some make a mountain out of a molehill. Dmitri turned to his wife. Alena, Mom is right. If a child breaks something, they need to be punished. But he's still little. Big enough to understand what's right and wrong, though. Alena felt like the ground was slipping away under her feet. Even her own husband wasn't on her side. The next day, she went to an electronics store and bought a small video camera. She set it up in the kids' room, hiding it among the toys. Now she would have proof. But when Alena came home from work, the camera was on the living room table, broken. Maxim accidentally dropped it, Valentina Ivanovna explained. He's so clumsy. Probably like you. Alena picked up the pieces. The camera wasn't just broken, it was crushed on purpose. How could a child break it like that? Kids can do anything, her mother-in-law smiled coldly. Especially when they play with things that don't belong to them. Valentina Ivanovna knew about the camera. But how? The answer came a few days later when Alena overheard a conversation between her mother-in-law and their neighbor, Aunt Zina. Can you believe it, Zinaida Petrovna? My daughter-in-law is spying on me. She put a camera in the kids' room, thinking I wouldn't notice. Oh no, gasped the neighbor. She suspects you're mistreating your grandson? My nerves aren't good since the birth. I'm just imagining things, said Valentina Ivanovna. And what does Dima say? What can he say? He loves his wife, but sees she's not herself. He's afraid she's hurting Maxim with these fantasies. Alena stood behind the door, listening as her reputation was ruined. Maybe take her to a doctor? Aunt Zina asked kindly. We're trying, but she refuses. Says we're all against her. Classic paranoia. It's terrible. And the child. Maxim's suffering the most. His mom is nervous, always questioning him, making him believe grandma is bad. The kid is already stuttering from stress. Alena barely held back tears and didn't burst into the room to shout the truth. Who would believe her? It was her word against Valentina Ivanovna's, and she had 40 years of experience working with children. Alena realized her mother-in-law was playing ahead, turning everyone against her. A week later, Dmitri's sister called. Alena, your mom told me you're having problems. Maybe you should take a break, go on vacation? Then her sister-in-law called. Are you sure you're feeling okay? Dima is worried. Even her co-workers at work started looking at her strangely. It turned out Valentina Ivanovna had talked to the head of Maxim's kindergarten during a parent meeting and secretly told her about Alena's troubles. Alena Sergeyevna, the director said carefully, if you're having difficulties, we can recommend a good psychologist. Alena knew she was trapped. The more she protested, the more she seemed crazy to everyone. Meanwhile, Maxim was becoming more withdrawn. He stopped laughing, hardly played, and always wanted to be held by his mom. At night, the boy screamed from nightmares, and Alena found him in her bed, trembling with fear. Mommy, he whispered, the black lady comes, and Ho-Ho wants to take me away. What black lady, sunshine? Scary. He says I'm bad, and that mom doesn't love me. Alena understood this trauma showed up in his dreams. Her child was slowly breaking inside. She tried to get Maxim an appointment with a child psychologist, but Dmitri strongly refused. No labels on our kid. We'll handle this ourselves. But he needs help. He needs a calm mother, not just psychologists. Valentina Ivanovna stood nearby, nodding in approval. Dima is right. We grew up fine without psychologists. Now they call doctors for every little thing. Alena felt trapped. Every way out was blocked. Everyone was against her. Even when Alena tried to talk to the local pediatrician, he gently said, the bruises on the child are normal from being active, but the stuttering might be caused by stress at home. Are there any problems between the adults? It sounded like the problem wasn't with Valentina Ivanovna, but with Alena herself. One evening, Alena decided to make one last attempt to talk openly with her husband. Dima, please, just watch how your mom treats Maxim when I'm not home. Alan, enough. One day. Come home early without telling anyone. See for yourself. Dmitri rubbed his tired face. You want me to spy on my own mother? I want you to protect our son. From who? From the grandmother who's raising him? From the woman who hits him? That's enough. Dmitri exploded. Stop this nonsense. Mom is right. You really have some mental problems. And if you don't stop, I'll think about limiting your time with Maxim. Alena felt cold inside. What did you say? Exactly what I said. The child stutters because of your outbursts. You're hurting him with your suspicions. You're threatening to take my son away. I'm protecting our son from an unhealthy mother. Those words hit Alena like a sentence. She realized she had lost. Valentina Ivanovna had won on all fronts. That night, she lay awake listening to Maxim quietly whimper in his crib. The boy was even afraid to cry loudly. What should I do? Alena thought. She had no proof. No one believed her. Her husband was ready to take her son away. And in the next room, Valentina Ivanovna slept peacefully, like a winner. Soon, that annoying girl will understand who's the boss in this house. And Maxim will finally become the obedient grandson he's supposed to be. But Valentina Ivanovna was wrong about one thing. She underestimated the power of a mother's instinct. A lioness driven into a corner becomes especially dangerous. Alena woke up to the smell of urine. Maxim was standing by the bed in wet pajamas, trembling and sobbing. At 4 years old, he hadn't wet the bed for a long time. But for the past 2 weeks, it had happened every night. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered, hugging her son. "Let's change you." "Mommy, I didn't want to," the boy stuttered. "I'm sorry, baby. It's not your fault." But Valentina Ivanovna thought differently. Hearing the noise, she appeared at the nursery door in her robe, looking annoyed. "Alena, this is unbearable. The child is completely spoiled." "Mom, it's temporary. He's stressed." "Stress?" The mother-in-law laughed bitterly. "At 4 years old, it means bad parenting. You need to stop this, not pity him." "He's not doing it on purpose," Alena said. "Of course he is." Valentina Ivanovna cut her off. "He's just seeking attention. He doesn't wet the bed at kindergarten." Alena fell silent. "Exactly," her mother-in-law said triumphantly. "He can control himself when he wants, but lets himself go at home." Maxim curled up tighter in his mother's arms. "Tomorrow we stop this nonsense," Valentina Ivanovna said sternly. "If he wets the bed, he'll sleep on a bare mattress. Maybe then he'll learn." "Mom, that's cruelty to a child," Alena said. Valentina Ivanovna stepped closer, her voice low and threatening. "Listen carefully, girl. If you keep interfering with how I raise my grandson, you'll regret it. Very much regret it." There was something fierce and scary in her eyes. Alena took a step back, holding Maxim close. "What do you mean?" "You'll see. My patience isn't endless." Valentina Ivanovna turned and left, leaving behind a cold and dangerous feeling. The next day, Alena noticed a new bruise on her son's shoulder. 4 dark spots clearly showed finger marks. "Maximka, where did this come from?" she asked. The boy looked scared, glanced toward the door, then whispered to his mom. "Grandma held me really tight. She shook me and said I'm bad." "For what, sweetheart?" "I was thirsty, but she said I can't drink before dinner. I still asked her for water." Alena felt anger boiling inside. This bruise was clear proof of abuse. But who would believe her? She took a photo of the bruise on her phone, but she knew people would say she hurt her own child. At kindergarten, teachers also noticed changes in Maxim's behavior. "Alena Sergeyevna," the teacher said carefully, "Maxim has become very quiet. He doesn't play with the other kids and keeps asking when you'll come." "Family problems," Alena replied shortly. "I see. Also, he started to be afraid of, how can I say it, older women. Yesterday, the nurse tried to take his temperature, and he hid under the table and cried." Alena's heart ached. Her child was scared of all older women because of one, his own grandmother. "Maybe he should see a psychologist," the teacher suggested. "I'll try to talk to my husband," Alena promised, knowing it would be useless. Dmitri flatly refused. "No psychologists. Mom is right. You're making problems where there are none." "Dima, look at his shoulder." Alena showed him the photo of the bruise. He barely looked. Just a normal bruise. The kids fall all the time. "Those are finger marks." "That's your imagination, Alan. You're becoming unbearable with your suspicions, and you're becoming a bad mother." Alena snapped. "What did you say?" "What I think. You don't see what's happening to our son. He wets the bed at night, stutters, and is afraid of his own shadow." "Because of you," Dmitri yelled. "Because of your tantrums, because of your mother." "Enough." He slammed his fist on the table. If you don't stop, I'll file for divorce and make sure Maxim stays with me. Alena turned pale. You won't dare. Oh, I will. You have clear mental problems. Any court will see it. At that moment, Valentina Ivanovna walked into the room. What's all this yelling? Maxim is crying in his room. Mom, explain to your wife that her suspicions are nonsense, Dmitri said tiredly. Valentina Ivanovna looked at Alena with pity. Alenachka, dear, I understand it's hard for you, but why torture yourself and us? Maxim is healthy and developing normally. All these problems are in your head. He's not developing normally, Alena shouted desperately. He's regressing, wetting the bed, stuttering, and scared. Scared of you, her mother-in-law said softly. Of your outbursts, your questions, you're trying to turn him against Grandma. That's not true. It is, Dmitri interrupted. Mom's right. You're hurting the child. Alena realized they were two against her, and they had won. Fine, she said quietly. Do whatever you want. She left the room and went to Maxim. The boy sat on the bed, quietly crying. Mommy. He ran into her arms. Why was Dad yelling? He asked. It's okay, sweetheart. Everything will be fine. But she was lying. Nothing will be fine. That night, Alena overheard Valentina Ivanovna talking on the phone. Yes, Zinaida Petrovna, it's very bad. Dima is already thinking about divorce. Of course, we feel sorry for her, but what can you do? The child needs stability. Maxim is suffering so much because of her behavior. Alena knew the final blow was coming. Valentina Ivanovna was preparing for divorce and gathering support around her. The next day, Alena's mother-in-law was especially nice. Alenachka, I made your favorite, chicken and potatoes. Sit down and eat, she said. At dinner, she told funny stories about Maxim, laughed, and played with her grandson. She seemed like the perfect, loving grandma. But Alena saw how tense Maxim was every time she moved. He flinched when she touched him. Maximushka, come to Grandma, Valentina Ivanovna called gently. I don't want to, the boy whispered. Don't be stubborn, grandson. Come to Mommy, said Valentina Ivanovna. For a moment, her mask slipped, and Alena saw anger flash in her eyes. Then she smiled again. Of course, to Mommy. But first, give Grandma a kiss. Maxim slowly walked to her. Valentina Ivanovna bent close to his ear and whispered something. The boy went pale and quickly ran back to his mom. What did she say? Alena asked quietly. Nothing, Maxim stammered, but his eyes were full of fear. That night, after everyone went to bed, Alena went to the kitchen for water and heard Valentina Ivanovna's voice from Maxim's room. Sleep well, my good boy. Soon, your mommy will go far away, and it will be just you and Grandma forever. I don't want that, Maxim whispered. Well, whether you want it or not doesn't matter. Mommy is bad. She doesn't love you, but I love you in my own way. Alena almost burst into the room but stopped. She realized it was a trap. Valentina Ivanovna wanted to start a fight, especially in front of Dmitri. She quietly went back to the bedroom and lay down next to her husband. Dmitri was asleep, unaware of what was happening in their home. The next morning, Maxim woke up with a wet bed and a new bruise on his wrist. Wet the bed again? Valentina Ivanovna asked sharply. Enough. Tonight you sleep on the bare mattress. Mom, please don't, Alena begged. You have to. Time to teach him discipline. Dmitri supported his mother. The boy needs to learn to control himself. Alena looked at her husband, but he seemed like a puppet in his mother's hands. That evening, as she put Maxim to sleep on the bare mattress, she barely held back tears. Sorry, sunshine. Mommy will fix everything. When, the boy whispered.
Soon.
Very soon. She kissed him and left the room. Then she heard the key turn in the lock. Valentina Ivanovna locked Maxim in the nursery. Mom, why did you lock him in? Alena asked. So, he doesn't run into our room at night, her mother-in-law answered calmly. Time to break bad habits. But if he feels bad, nothing will happen. Kids are stronger than you think. Alena stood by the locked door, listening to her son's quiet crying. At that moment, something inside her broke completely. Valentina Ivanovna walked by and stopped. "Soon you'll learn who's boss in this house," she whispered. "And you'll stop interfering with how I raise my grandson, or you'll regret it." Their eyes met. In her mother-in-law's eyes was a cold threat, but Alena wasn't afraid anymore. Valentina Ivanovna waited, sitting in her chair, watching the clock. 3:30 p.m. Dmitri was supposed to come home from work at 6 p.m. Alena left for the store for about 40 minutes. Maxim played alone in the nursery, just as she planned. The perfect time for the final act. Valentina Ivanovna got up and went to the nursery. Maxim sat on the floor, quietly playing with his toy car. When he saw his grandmother, he curled up. "Maximushka," she called softly, "come here." "I don't want to," the boy whispered. "I'm not asking if you want to or not." She grabbed his hand roughly and dragged him into the living room. Maxim started to cry. "Ouch, Grandma," he said. "It will hurt more if you don't stop crying," Valentina Ivanovna said as she sat him down on the couch. Her eyes were cold and angry. "Listen carefully, little one. Dad will come soon, and you will tell him that Mom hurt you. Got it?" "But Mom didn't hurt me," Maxim sobbed. "You'll say she did. And if you don't..." Valentina Ivanovna pinched his shoulder hard. Maxim screamed. "It will be worse. They will take Mom to the crazy hospital, and you will never see her again." "No," the boy yelled. "Then you'll tell him Mom hurt you, and show the bruises." She pinched his arm, leg, and cheek, one by one. Maxim cried, but didn't fight back. He knew it would only get worse if he didn't obey. "Now lie here and cry. And remember, Mom hurt you. Mom is bad, but Grandma is good." Valentina Ivanovna moved away to the window and waited. Maxim lay on the couch, shaking and crying from pain and fear. At exactly 6 o'clock, the door lock clicked. "I'm home," Dmitri called from the hallway. "Dima." Valentina Ivanovna shouted like someone was hurting her. "Come quickly. There's trouble." Dmitri ran into the living room and froze. Maxim lay on the couch crying. His face and hands had fresh red marks. "What happened?" "Your wife," Dmitri asked. Valentina Ivanovna covered her face and sobbed. "Son, your wife is hurting our grandson." "What?" Dmitri was shocked. "I went to the store for a minute, and when I came back, I saw her. She was hitting Maxim."
"Saying he was bad," she cried.
Dmitri rushed to his son. "Maxim, what happened?" he asked. The boy looked at his father with scared eyes, then at Grandma. Valentina Ivanovna gave a small nod. "Mom," whispered Maxim. "Mom what?" Dmitri asked. "Mom hit me," the boy whispered, then hid his face in a pillow and started crying harder. Dmitri turned pale. He carefully looked over his son's bruises and tear marks. "Where is Alena?" "She ran away as soon as she saw me," Valentina Ivanovna sobbed. "She said she was going to the store, probably scared of facing this." At that moment, the door opened. Alena came in with grocery bags. "Hi, she stopped, seeing the angry faces of her husband and mother-in-law. "What's going on?" she asked. Dmitri stood slowly, his eyes burning with anger. "What's going on?" he repeated as he stepped toward his wife. "You want to know what's going on?" "Dima, I don't understand this. You hit my son." Alena was shocked. "I didn't hit anyone. Don't lie," Dmitri shouted. "Mom saw everything, and Maxim told us himself." Alena looked at her son, lying on the couch with fresh bruises. Her heart sank. "Maxim, what happened?" she asked. "Don't go near him," Dmitri said, blocking her path. "You've already hurt him enough." "Dima, are you crazy? I would never hurt our child." "Liar." Dmitri raised his hand to hit her. "I'll kill you for this," he shouted. But just then, a sharp scream cut through the room. "Dad, no." Everyone froze. Maxim sat on the couch, reaching out to his parents. "Dad, please don't. Mom didn't hurt me." Dmitri lowered his hand. "What did you say?" Maxim stood up on the couch, still crying. but louder and more sure. That grandma pinches me. Mom didn't do it. A heavy silence fell. Valentina Ivanovna turned pale. Maxim, what are you saying? You said it yourself.
No, the boy shouted. You made me say it.
You said Mom is bad. He pointed with his shaking hand at Grandma. She scares me and hits me when Mom isn't home. She says Mom will be taken away if I tell. Dmitri slowly turned to his mother. Mom, what does this mean? Valentina Ivanovna tried to smile, but it was weak. The child is imagining things. He doesn't understand what he's saying. Kids get stressed. I understand very well, Maxim cut in. You're mean. You pinch me and say I'm bad. The words came out of the boy like a flood. You lock me in a room and say Mom doesn't love me and that she'll leave. But I don't want Mom to leave. Dmitri looked at his mother, not believing what he heard. Is this true, Dima? Is it true? Valentina Ivanovna tried to keep calm. I'm just raising him. He's naughty and spoiled. He needs discipline. Discipline. Dmitri's voice went quiet and scary. You call hitting a child discipline? I didn't beat him. Sometimes strict measures are necessary. What measures? Maxim slid off the couch and ran to his mom. Alena caught him and held him close. He spoke, hiding his face on her shoulder. It hurts when she pinches me. She puts me in the corner for a long time and doesn't let me play if I cry. She says I'm bad and that Dad doesn't love me. Each word hit Dmitri like a slap. He looked at his mother and didn't recognize her. She says if I tell Mom, she'll make Mom sick and she'll die, Maxim continued. And then I'll stay with her forever. Mom, Dmitri whispered, tell me that's not true. Valentina Ivanovna was silent. Her mask of a caring grandma completely fell away, revealing a cruel, twisted face. Not true, she said with a cruel laugh. What's not true? That I'm raising my grandson? That I'm trying to make a man, not a crybaby? You hit him. So what? You got hit too and you grew up fine. Then she pointed at Alena. She's making him weak. Dmitri stepped toward his mother. You're mentally ill. Sick. Valentina Ivanovna straightened up. I dedicated my whole life to you. I gave birth to you, raised you, educated you. And you brought this fool into the house who can't be a wife or a mother. Get out, Dmitri said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Now. Dima, what are you saying? This is my apartment. I don't care. Pack your things and leave. Today. Valentina Ivanovna looked at her son, not believing what she heard. You're kicking out your own mother because of this woman? Because she abused my child? Dmitri shouted. My son, you're a monster. Valentina Ivanovna tried to touch him, but he stepped back. Don't touch me. You're not my mother anymore. But where will I go? I have nowhere else to live. I don't care. Even under a bridge. Alena stood holding Maxim, watching the scene like a bad nightmare. Everything was happening too fast, too dramatically. Valentina Ivanovna looked at all of them with a hateful glare. Fine, I'll leave. But remember this, you will regret it. Especially you, she said, pointing at Alena. Dima will come back to me. He always does. And you'll be left with nothing. Get out, Dmitri shouted. Valentina Ivanovna turned and walked toward the door. At the door, she stopped and looked back. Maximushka, she called in a soft voice. Grandma loves you. Remember that. The boy hid his face on his mother's shoulder and cried quietly. The door slammed shut. The apartment was silent, broken only by Maxim's quiet sobs. Dmitri slowly sank into a chair and covered his face with his hands. My God, what have I done? What have I become? Alena carefully came over to him. Dima, forgive me, he whispered without looking up. Forgive me for not believing. Forgive me for almost hitting you. Forgive me for letting this happen. Alena sat down next to him, still holding Maxim. The important thing is you know the truth now. How could I have been so blind? How could I not see what she was doing to my son? You loved her, trusted her. I betrayed you both. Dimitri's voice trembled. I betrayed my own family. Maxim lifted his head and looked at his dad.
Dada.
You will protect me now. Dimitri knelt before his son and took his small hands in his own. Always, son. I will always protect you. I promise. And Grandma won't come back? Never. No one will hurt you again. Maxim hugged his dad, and for the first time in many months, Dimitri felt his son trusted him. Far away, on the other side of town, Valentina Ivanovna sat on a bus with a suitcase, planning revenge. The war was not over yet. The first day after Valentina Ivanovna left was tense and quiet. Maxim didn't leave his mom's side, like he was afraid the mean grandma might come back suddenly. He only slept in his parents' bed, squeezed between mom and dad, waking at every little noise. Dimitri wandered around the apartment like a lost man. He looked at his son and saw bruises he had never noticed before. He remembered his mother's words that once sounded caring but now felt like threats. He realized the full scale of the betrayal, not just from his mother but from himself too. Alena, he said one evening when Maxim finally fell asleep, I made an appointment for him with a child psychologist tomorrow. Good, his wife nodded. We need help too. A family psychologist. Alena looked at Dimitri. His face was pale, his eyes full of pain. Dima, I know this is hard for you. Very hard. He laughed bitterly. I almost killed you with my own hands for protecting our son. You didn't know. You should have known. He hit the table with his fist. I'm a father. My job is to protect my family, not betray it. Alena came close and hugged him. The important thing is, now you're on our side. I'm afraid it's too late, Dimitri whispered. I'm afraid I've lost my son forever. You haven't. Children can forgive. They just need time. The next day, the three of them went to see the child psychologist. Svetlana Viktorovna, an experienced woman in her 50s, gently talked with Maxim while playing with toys. Maximushka, let's draw your family. The boy took crayons and started drawing. First his mom, a big figure with a smile. Then himself, a small person next to mom. He drew dad, separately, off to the side. And where is grandma? Asked the psychologist. Maxim frowned and drew a black figure with red eyes in the corner of the page. She's angry, he said quietly. She wanted mom to disappear. After the session, the psychologist spoke to the parents alone. The child shows classic signs of psychological trauma. Regressive behavior, bedwetting, stuttering, nightmares. This is the result of ongoing psychological and physical abuse. Dimitri turned pale. How serious is it? Dimitri asked. Serious, but fixable, said the psychologist. Kids are very strong if they have loving parents supporting them. The most important thing is to create a safe and stable environment. What do you suggest? Dimitri wanted to know. First, completely cut off contact with the person who caused the trauma. Second, regular therapy. Third, a change of environment will help. It's best to move somewhere new. That evening, Dimitri announced, we're moving out. We'll rent an apartment until we find our own place. What about mom? Alena asked. This is her apartment. I don't care. Let her come back if she wants, but we won't live here anymore. 4 days after the big fight, Valentina Ivanovna called Dimitri. Her voice sounded weak and pleading. Dimachka, my son, let's talk. I know I made mistakes. Mistakes. Dimitri gripped the phone so hard his knuckles turned white. You call abusing a child mistakes? I just wanted to raise him right. You wanted to break him, and you almost did. Dimachka, I am your mother. Would you really choose a stranger woman over your own mother? Stranger, Dimitri said quietly, and his voice became dangerous. Alena is the mother of my child, my wife, my closest person. And you? You are nothing to me anymore. But grandson Maximushka, I love him. Your love hurts him. You will never see Maxim again. Dima, please. Goodbye, Mom. Forever. He hung up and blocked her number. A week later, the family moved into a rented 2-room apartment in a different part of town. Maxim helped unpack boxes and laughed for the first time in a long time. Mom, Is there no mean grandma here? He asked.
No, sunshine.
Here it's just us, Mom, Dad, and you. She can't find us here. No, Dad wouldn't allow that. Dmitri sat down beside his son. Maxim, I want to tell you something. Dad was bad before. I didn't protect you when you needed me. The boy listened carefully. But now Dad has changed, and I promise no one will hurt you again. No one ever. Maxim thought about it, then nodded. Okay, Dad, I believe you. Meanwhile, Valentina Ivanovna sat alone in an empty apartment calling relatives. But the conversations didn't go well. Zinaida Petrovna, it's Valia. Do you know where Dima and the family are now? They moved out. Valia, is it true you hit your grandson? The neighbor asked coldly.
What?
Who told you such nonsense? Dima called and told me. He says the child is barely alive after your discipline. She's lying. I'm his grandmother. How could I? I don't know, Valia. Dima doesn't make things up. If he said it, something must have happened. The neighbor hung up. Valentina Ivanovna dialed another number. Anya, it's Aunt Valia. Can I come stay with you for a couple of days? Valia, her niece's voice was tense. It's a tough time. Renovations, kids are sick. I have nowhere to go. What happened with Dima? We fought. Valentina Ivanovna realized Dmitri had told everyone everything. Her reputation was ruined. Anya, she pleaded, can you at least lend me some money for the rent? Sorry, Aunt Valia, I can't. I'm drowning in debt too. And then the call ended. By evening, Valentina Ivanovna understood everyone had turned away from her. Her 40-year reputation as a respected teacher was destroyed in just 1 week. Meanwhile, a miracle was happening in the small rented apartment. Maxim slowly stopped stuttering, stopped wetting the bed, started laughing and playing. He was still afraid to be without his mom, but the psychologist said, that will pass. Dmitri found time every day to play with his son, read him books, and just talk. Dmitri was learning how to be a father all over again. One day, Maxim said, Dad, do you love me? I love you very much, my son. I love you too. You're a good dad. Dmitri almost cried hearing that. Alena was changing too. She no longer doubted her mother's instincts or tried to explain away the strange behavior of others. She learned to trust herself. A month later, the psychologist said, Maxim is getting better faster than I expected. He has a very strong mind and loving parents. The worst part of his trauma is behind him. Meanwhile, Valentina Ivanovna was in the hospital. She had a high blood pressure crisis 2 weeks after being kicked out, when she finally realized her son wouldn't come back. Do you have family? The nurse asked. I have a son and grandson, she whispered. Should I tell them?
No.
They are busy. Valentina Ivanovna closed her eyes. The hospital room was empty and quiet, just like her life. 3 months later, Maxim started a new kindergarten. For the first time in a long while, he told his teacher, I have the best parents in the world. His stuttering was almost gone. The bruises healed. The nightmares stopped. The family was healing. A year later, Alena sat in the park watching Maxim play with other kids. He laughed, ran around, and was just a normal, happy child. Dmitri sat down beside her on a bench. What are you thinking about? That a mother's instinct never fails. I knew something was wrong. From the very start. Then why didn't you tell me straight away? I tried, but you didn't listen. Dmitri sighed. I'm still ashamed of that. The important thing is that in the end, you listened to the most important person, your son. They were silent for a moment, watching the boy play. Alena, what if Maxim never spoke up back then? I don't know, she said honestly, but I wouldn't have given up. A mother's love is stronger than any evil. Maxim ran up to them, his face red from playing. Mom, Dad, let's go home. I'm hungry. Let's go, son. Alena smiled. The 3 of them walked home together, a real family who went through hell and survived. Far away, in another part of the city, an old, lonely woman sat in a small apartment, staring out the window. Valentina Ivanovna lost everything. Her son, her grandson, her home, and respect. All that was left was bitterness and the painful truth that she destroyed the most precious things with her own hands. But it was too late to change anything. Love that causes pain is not love, it's sickness. Real love always protects, always forgives, always heals. And a mother's heart knows the difference.